Today we are in my Uncle Chris and Aunt Lisa's kitchen, and what are we making today?
We are making a stuffed pork tenderloin and stuffed mushrooms and a pear and gorgonzola salad.
Alright, so the first step is to wash the mushrooms, which we've already done. What's the next step?
We scoop out the insides of the mushrooms so that we can get the stuffing in them, and then we make the stuffing.
Okay, so let's start with the scooping.
Okay.
We'll see how to do that.
And you just take the front of a spoon and you just go around the center and then just take out the center of the mushroom.
The brown stuff?
Yeah, just the outside edge, and to where it's just basically scooped out.
Alright, so we'll get all of those scooped out and we'll be back. So we finished scooping out the centers of the mushrooms, and we have them on the plate. And what is the next step?
We take a breakfast sausage and we brown that, and then leave it pretty chunky, and then we make some wild rice and season that, and then we mix all the ingredients together.
Okay.
We have here mushroom soup and sour cream, Parmesan cheese, and sausage.
Okay, so we'll start browning that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we started simmering the meat, and we also started the rice. So what did you do with the rice to get it prepared?
Okay, I took 2 cups of the rice, and it's a 4-blend rice, so it is a white, brown, wild, and red rice. It's parboiled, so it takes only about 20 minutes to cook. And I season it, I get a non-seasoned so that I can change the seasonings for whatever I'm making. So for this dish, I used garlic salt, onion powder, pepper, parsley, and chicken seasoning.
And thyme.
And a little bit of thyme.
Okay, so you're boiling that in chicken broth, right?
Mm-hmm.
To give it a little more flavor. And so we've already added all of the seasonings, and we just have to bring it to a boil. The meat is almost done, and we'll be back. Okay, so we have that stuff started, and now we're about to chop the onion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what are we doing with the onion?
We're going to saute the onion, and that will go into the stuffing for the mushrooms and
Chop
for
up the onion, and we have butter in a fresh pan, and
so we're
just gonna mix that.
Saute the onion.
And we used an entire yellow onion for this. And what's the difference between a yellow and a white onion?
Yellow onions are sweeter, so they add a nicer flavor to your food, whereas a white onion can have a little bitter tinge to it. So I like to use for the yellow onions when I cook.
Okay, so we'll get those sauteed. And how do you know when they're ready?
When they're tender, when they just start to brown.
Okay, sounds good. So our onions are finished cooking. Our rice is actually done. It's been sitting for 20 minutes.
Our sausage is done.
Our sausage is done, and then this is what the onions should look like
When they're done.
when they're done, so they're nice and brown. And what is the next step?
And then we mix all of the stuffing ingredients together and get that ready to stuff into the mushrooms and the pork tenderloin.
Okay, so let's start that now. What do we have to do?
Okay. Well, what we do is I usually take a mixing bowl and I just put in all the ingredients.
All right. We'll get that started. So we have our 3 ingredients in this big mixing bowl. So we have the onions, the rice, and the meat. We're stirring it all together, and then what's next?
Then we add the sour cream and the cream of mushroom soup and the Parmesan cheese.
So we have pork tenderloins here, and we have 4 that we're seasoning. For a serving of 5, you really only need 2, but we want to make leftovers. So what are you doing right now?
We are seasoning these pork tenderloins because we're going to brown them. And
what
then
are you
after we brown them, we're going to take them off the skillet, and then we're going to cut a pocket in them for stuffing.
All right. So we got our stuffing ready. We basically mixed the cheese and all the other ingredients for the stuffing together and seasoned it. And what do we season that with?
We used a little bit of garlic salt and some onion powder and a little bit of pepper.
And we're ready to start stuffing the mushrooms. So what's the steps?
Basically, you just take the stuffing and you just gently put it into, and just gently round it. Okay. You don't want it to be too far over the sides because you don't want it to melt down over the mushroom. You just want to have a nice little crown.
Okay, so we'll get all of those stuffed and we'll be back. So we finished stuffing all of our mushrooms and we're about ready to get them started so that we can have them for appetizers. And
we're going to stick them in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes.
All right. So we have the pork tenderloins. We seasoned them already and we browned them. And we're ready to cut pockets in them for the stuffing. So why don't you get that started and see how that goes.
Okay. Are we where you can see us?
Yep.
What we did is we browned them in butter with the seasonings, and now we're going to cut a pocket in these pork tenderloins so we can fill them with stuffing. Start in the middle here and work a knife down at the edge of the pork tenderloin and all the way through, making a pocket all the way through the whole pork tenderloin. And we'll slightly open it so we can fill the pork tenderloin full. It looks like that.
Okay. So we have all of them pocketed and we're about ready to add the stuffing. So what do we have to do for that? Okay.
We got the ingredients made as we talked about earlier. What we do is we'll lay the pork tenderloin on its side, like that there, and then we'll stuff the ingredients right to the side and making sure the pocket goes clear through the pork tenderloin to both ends of it, and then we'll just, as we put the ingredients in, we're working down in through the pork.
Pack it in.
Pack it in nice and firm so it fills the whole pocket at that point, and then there we are. You can see there, we make sure we get plenty of ingredient in there, and this one's just about there.
Alright.
And looks like something about like that. There we go.
So they're pretty full. Okay.
Very good.
So while our pork tenderloins are cooking, we are starting our salad. And what do we have here?
We have just a mixed green salad. And when I buy a mixed green salad in the store, it always feels a little bit dried out to me. So I always like to rehydrate it. So I'm putting it into a colander, and then we're going to fill it with water and let it sit and hydrate for a little while.
Okay. So you let that soak and rehydrate, and then we spun it around to kind of get rid of the excess moisture. And now what?
And now we're going to mix the ingredients. We're going to slice some Roquefort cheese, and we're going to add the candied pecans and the dried cranberries and the dressing and mix the salad, and then we'll finish it with sliced pears.
All right. So our pork tenderloins are done. They just came out of the oven. And what are we doing with them now?
We are going to carve them and get them ready to serve.
Okay, so let's start that.
Okay.
And what made you choose this recipe for this video?
It became a favorite of our son. He loved the stuffed mushrooms with the stuffing on it and the stuffing in the pork, and it just has become a favorite. And in all of our family get-togethers, our family has decided that the stuffed mushrooms was a must at all of the parties. So I'm elected to bring stuffed mushrooms to all of our parties. So that was kind of why we decided to share this with you.
All right. So we'll get those all carved and we're ready to eat.